All right, Kelly, you ready now? Ready?
Yes.
All right, Commission. All right, we're going to call to order the special meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, June 22nd. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen,
Present.
Vice Mayor Sachs,
Here.
Commissioner Hartman,
Here.
Commissioner Colodi,
Here.
Commissioner McGirt.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, this is an action-packed day. We have this meeting at 5:30. We have a 6 o'clock CRA and then a regular meeting at 6:30. We'll note how folks trickling in. The purpose of today's meeting, Traffic Calming Program Handbook. We have numerous members of the public here. Our first item up is public participation. I want to hear from them. I do just want to call out, though, we only have about 30 minutes, so I want to hear from you all. Know that the purpose today is not necessarily to solve any specific traffic issue. We're not going to be talking about should we do X, Y, Z on Street 123. We're talking about a manual and how we approach all of your issues, presuming you're here for traffic-related issues. We're here to discuss a process and a criteria for traffic calming so that when we have those requests that come to us, we have a process to go through. So that's the purpose of today. So if you come to us and you say, hey, I want a stop sign on my road or I want a speed bump here, we're talking about how we get to that. We're not going to be debating those specific items here tonight, just so you know. So with that, I will open it up for public participation. This is your chance to speak. You'll have 3 minutes, and or if you would like, if no one speaks, if we have time at the end, I can open it back up at the end of the meeting as well. If that would be, that way you can kind of hear what we've said, and then if you have other things you want to add. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I came a little bit prepared to talk about my street. I won't take very long. I timed it 3 times.
Okay.
My name is Kathy Jo Douglas. I reside at 1200 South Riverside. Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you for giving me the time to address you. It has been apparent to residents on South Riverside Drive that since the speed cushions were installed on Magnolia, both the traffic speed and volume have substantially increased on our street. Research shows studies that reveal the fact when speed cushions have been installed in residential areas, the traffic speed on adjacent streets increased 23%. In addition to the speed cushions, additional traffic calming measures were added to Magnolia and Live Oak. These streets now have stop signs, speed limit signs, speed cushion, radar speed sign, and the addition of more speed limit signs. South Riverside Drive was not addressed at the same time. Now the result is many people have told me they don't even like to drive on Magnolia because the speed cushions are so difficult to go over. Starting at Canal Street, going south all the way to the Edgewater city limit, there are 0 stop signs on South Riverside Drive and 2 speed limit signs. So there's absolutely no traffic calming on the street. After hearing so many neighbors complaining about the speeding and volume of traffic, I wrote a letter to all my neighbors and I got 100% support from the responses. Everyone agrees that traffic calming measures should be taken by the city. We very much need the city's help and are asking you to implement several traffic calming measures. South Riverside Drive is historic and scenic, and this needs to be kept in mind when planning traffic calming measures. We must solve our problem, but also consider keeping the charm for South Riverside and for the city. We would like for the city to consider measures including lowering the speed limit to 20 miles an hour, having more police presence, truck weight limits, and installing more stop signs and speed limit signs. Other cities like Winter Park and Winter Springs have used granite or brick pavers in their historic residential neighborhoods. We could consider brick or granite traffic tables or even paving sections of the road with brick or granite. Research shows that these types of pavers slow traffic by up to 7 miles per hour. If the city decides to include brick or granite in the traffic calming plan on Riverside, we would be willing to work on raising grant money for the project. In conclusion, we believe it's very important to solve the speeding and traffic volume problems we now have on South Riverside, and at the same time, save the charm. Thank you for listening to me. I had to talk really fast and get that all in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I don't believe I've ever seen a curtsy after a public participation, so that is a first. That is a first. Yes, sir.
It's hard to follow a curtsy, but Randy Herman, 108 Esther Street. I'm speaking on the manual specifically in relationship to it being reviewed twice by the neighborhood council. Both times it was recommended and felt a very important document and a helpful tool in dealing with some of the issues that the previous speaker brought forward. But both times we did ask that the percentage needed to initiate be lowered. It's now 75%, and the neighborhood council felt that is too high. And it would set a bar. Our National Congress can't even get 51%. So I would ask you to consider, if you approve the manual, that you lower the percentage, because we don't want it to be a barrier to initiate, but we certainly want it to be high enough that we get a good sounding of how people feel. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you. All right, rowdy crowd for the traffic calming today. I didn't see a curtsy, Randy. I don't know. We kind of have a thing here, you know. Yes, sir.
Carl Iverson, 1314 South Riverside. I'd just like to bring up the fact that the calming thing has to be citywide. I mean, what happened was I went to the meeting when the Magnolia residents got together and forced the city to put these unbelievable speed bumps in Magnolia. And the comment made at the time was, this is going to cause collateral damage to Riverside. We don't care. I don't blame the residents for saying that, but the result has been there's not a comprehensive plan. So I hope if you're talking about calming devices, you're looking at the entire situation, not just one street. I mean, if you want Riverside to come in and pound on you guys like Magnolia did to put everything in there, we'll do it. I'm sure we will. But I would hope that the city gets together and does something that makes sense for the entire area. Because, I mean, right now, the traffic on Riverside is crazy. I know, talking to others, it's all over the city, the problem is. I mean, you know, you got to take a look at it. And Riverside, as one example, it's meant to be a scenic highway. Right now, we have rush hour. We have a 5 o'clock rush hour, 8 o'clock rush hour. And I know we're not the only street, but I don't see any comprehensive plan. If this calming study is just case by case by case, you failed. You have to take a look at the entire situation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And you're right. This is allowing us to have that kind of comprehensive look as things come forward. It's not necessarily that comprehensive plan. It's a different work path. But all right, seeing no others for public participation, seeing one other for public participation. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. I'm Laura Hodges, 620 South Riverside Drive. I'd just like to echo what Kathy Jo Douglas had mentioned as well about our street. So many of the residents on South Riverside Drive have docks across the street, and we utilize those docks for boating and whatnot. And it has truly turned into a hazard walking across the street with my children and my grandchildren and my dogs. Traffic has just gotten completely out of control since the speed cushions have been in place. Again, the extension of our property is across the street, and it's just a hazard. And not to mention, you know, we have a lot of active bicyclists around, and again, it has just gotten so dangerous. And I just hope the commission takes all of these comments to heart, and that we do have traffic calming in place to keep Riverside Drive the beautiful, you know, scenic highway that it is. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, we've gotten to a golf clap. I like that. For today's meeting, we probably will not speak specifically to Riverside, just so we're very clear. I hate to disappoint you, be the bearer of bad news, but we will talk in general terms. Yes, sir.
Yes, Robert Lease, 1320 South Riverside Drive. Couple comments. One is the tailgating that I put up with when I'm doing 25 miles an hour is extremely obnoxious. And I'm not a road rage guy, so there's not going to be a problem. But it's amazing the amount of tailgating that goes on when you're doing 25 miles an hour. The other is when the police force, a policeman was there, we hadn't seen them a lot, but as of late, we've seen more of them. And I'm thinking the amount of tickets that could be written on Riverside Drive, I believe, could probably pay their salary and benefits. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no others, we're going to close public participation, and we're going to discuss the traffic calming manual tonight. And again, if we have time at the end, we might come back to some specific streets, but we're a third of the way through the meeting. Brian, go ahead.
A very brief 4-slide overview, and I'll turn it over to the commission. 3 parts to this manual, just to kind of organize our thought process. The first is a process. It's a process for handling requests like we just heard, is how do we evaluate those? How do we bring them back to the commission for action to be taken? I'll get to that in just a minute. Second part is establishing objective criteria to evaluate requests to determine whether they meet certain standards for traffic calming. And then finally is the actual traffic calming measures. Which devices do we want to have as approved and available in our toolbox as a city to apply to individual situations? So first, the process. This is a rigorous process that is in this manual. As has been noted, it is a 75% approval. That is at the high end of other traffic calming programs that we've looked at. That could be reduced to as little as 50% for approval. It could be lower than 50% to initiate a study even. But for now, it's at 75. That could be changed. Key parts of the process are requests are forwarded to the engineering department. Requests come in a lot to commissioners, police department, planning, engineering. They would be funneled to engineering, who would look at, is it eligible and what is the impact area? That would be done by engineering. The process would include 2 neighborhood meetings, as well as it would come back to the commission twice. One at the concept plan level after a study was complete, and then at the very end to approve the final plans for implementation. So the evaluation criteria, it's a points-based system used to rank and prioritize projects. It's not set up to have an absolute minimum score in order to have a project. The point system is really based for helping us organize our funding, or if you had 2 similar requests to determine which one would be put in a higher priority. You could set a minimum standard of, it's a 100-point system of 50, 60, 80 to have a project or not, but the manual currently does not have that. Last is some additional considerations that we've discussed before, just a couple reminders about traffic calming. Stop signs are not traffic calming devices. The latest manual of uniform traffic control devices that's in draft format actually makes this a higher level of noting that is not the case. Stop signs are determined based on warrants that are in that MUTCD. They are not part of traffic calming. We hear a lot, and we just heard, change the sign, lower the speed limit. Why can't the city just go out and make it from 30 to 25? That requires by law an engineering evaluation to determine whether that has merit. So that's something that we can do as a city. What I have done in the past is a citywide speed study where you don't have to collect speed data on every street, but you do characteristic streets, and then you adjust your speed limits where you have outliers. That is something that we're required to do periodically, and something we should do separate from this manual that we're discussing tonight. Lastly, we inserted a sentence here, and this didn't really need to be said, but just to emphasize it, that on page 5, the City Commission may determine that special circumstances warrant the installation of traffic calming and or traffic control devices. So you always have the ability to implement something, to override a particular standard here and put something on the street. So we wanted to make special note of that. So that is the end of my overview. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Okay, from the commission, we'll come down the road. Commissioner Clody.
Just a question at this point. As you said, this is a pretty involved process. What would you estimate would be the time frame from start to finish after gathering all the data, looking at the data, sending it out to consultants, bringing it back, having neighborhood hearings, and then coming to the commission?
It's probably 4 to 6 months from initiation to approval.
Thank you.
Okay. Brian, you touched on the like a comprehensive study, speed study. What would the vernacular be for the comprehensive plan of traffic calming? Like because I agree with some of the comments that were made tonight, we probably will eventually have to look at kind of our broader network and figure out, we don't want to just keep chasing this problem kind of around. How do we, I don't want to get too off in the weeds on it tonight, but can you just touch on what that would be called and what the process is for that?
The citywide speed study would look just at our current posted speed limits and look at, we collect data and then make adjustments based on that citywide, based on that data. So most would stay the same, and you'd have certain outliers that would, need to be adjusted upward or downward. That would be something we should do. That gives the police department, at some point, if you haven't done that in a long time, somebody gets a ticket, we'll ask, when was the last time you did a speed study? You want to have that at least available to you.
Okay. I'll come back to that. I had more on that. Other comments from the commission?
Yes,
Yes, Commissioner Sack, Vice Mayor Sack.
yes. So Brian, thank you for promulgating our own mini MUTCD. I did have problems initially because each time we would come, and it's usually a stop sign, because Chief and everyone knows, we think and hope that a stop sign will break up speeding cars, and it usually does not work. But people ask for them, and we grant them in spite of the warrants, which are not met. So the question becomes, what features in the manual, from everything from an inexpensive stop sign all the way to re-engineering a road, let's say with a cobblestone crosswalk, can we actually implement if they don't meet warrants? Will we have to sit up here and debate whether they're met? Will it take a very large contingent, as what happened with Magnolia? And you mentioned a 4-month time period for study of the matter. I know from experience that sometimes road problems, traffic calming, can take years, which is very unfortunate for everybody, especially the folks, they have to deal with the same bureaucracy that we do. And sometimes, look, I'm very unopposed. I'm a proponent of traffic safety and would do whatever I could within our budget. I do agree with the speakers tonight that one area, South Mainland, does need a comprehensive plan. So now we're talking at an even grander scale than just one intersection with problems or one stretch of road with speed problems. We're going to have to rely on you heavily, I think, with some of these issues. We did realize early on, I'll try not to get too wordy here, early on with Magnolia, that it was a road configured differently than any other. Historically, folks who live here a long time know it was the old main road. It was a Dixie Highway, was kind of Magnolia. And so we sort of solved the problem there. I haven't heard many stirrings from Magnolia, but consequently, right away, we did hear people on, I'm sorry, Riverside also, but, sorry, Live Oak.
Live Oak, yeah.
Yes, Live Oak initially came to us right after Magnolia and said, you're going to harm us. We didn't hear from Riverside, and now we know that I haven't witnessed it myself, but I have witnessed speeding cars on Riverside. And I believe you when you say the volume has increased. I hope if we have not gotten speed tubes out to Riverside yet, which we may have already, that we can start a discussion on that. And it would be part of a comprehensive plan, because Riverside, as a pretty large portion of our city, is feeling some heavy impact of visitation, people using it as cut-through, meeting a lot of the criteria. And so maybe, I wouldn't call it a mistake, maybe with some foresight or even afterthought, we should look at areas more comprehensively and see what we can do within the law and something that may be warranted. Traffic patterns are changing, people are driving like crazy, and they want to get there fast. And they'll drive farther to think that they get in there quicker. They'll go out of their way. This is a fact. So I don't want to squabble with my colleagues about it. I don't want to go against what is recommended by our chief and our manager, that it doesn't meet a warrant. but when you stand on the street and you witness a problem and you can see what the residents go through, I've spent enough time at South Mainland to know it's a vibrant neighborhood with children on bikes, elderly walking their dogs. It's, you know, just like all our other neighborhoods, but they have this special traffic problem. And it did spread, honestly. It's a very bad unintended consequence. But and I'll finish with this comment. It seems after we put in the speed humps, it slowed down traffic and diverted traffic. Live Oak came and said, we don't want speed humps. We would like stop signs. And so we took a step down and provided that. I haven't heard too much problem there. But yes, people will divert. If speed humps are bothering them, they're going to go to Live Oak, they're going to go to Palmetto or Riverside.
For time's sake, I'm just gonna,
Okay,
I
guys,
wanna try to
I'll
get back to.
finish there, but
Yeah,
you
okay.
can see there's, and just one quick issue. If you didn't know, next year, the MUTCD may change. You probably already know that. So we'll have to consider that as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Other comments on the item? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, we're here today because we've had a traffic calming manual, we just never adopted it. And I find it ironic and totally expected that the residents of Riverside are now here with a problem. What does the traffic calming manual do if we adopt it differently from what we just experienced? Because I want to rehash briefly some history here. We tried to hold the standard of the traffic calming manual, but all of us sit up here, we want to help our residents when they have a problem. We tried to hold them to the threshold, but many times we did not. Magnolia was one of those streets. And the one thing that we promised, we were not going to move the problem. And that's exactly what we did. We moved it from Magnolia to Live Oak, and we all knew. We all saw this coming. And we all said we weren't going to allow it. But we did, and now they're here. And they deserve a remedy. Now, the one remedy I will bring up, if this does not, if the traffic calming manual does not prevent us from doing the same thing, why are we adopting it? If we can just willy-nilly ignore our own policy that we want to adopt and change it, which we like to have that ultimate authority, I think in a lot of cases it's good, and maybe we still do have it here. But I'm just trying to figure out why we're spending a lot of time doing something that is going to very likely get us back in the same spot, because I'm going to tell you right now, every one of our districts has a lot of roads that are going to want this. And I'm going to tell you right now, basically, if you're not on US 1 or State Road 44, you're going to be one stop sign and speed hump on every road you drive on. I can guarantee it. So I apologize for my lengthy comment, Mayor, but coming back to my fundamental question, what is different about us adopting this that will prevent this situation from occurring again?
A brief answer is that this is establishing a process that we don't have as a policy today, that when we get these requests to do something as a city, what this process is, it's a citizen-led initiative that requires the residents to come back to us with signatures showing there is a majority opinion to do something, a clear majority. And then we take it through certain steps and evaluation. Right now, without that, we get requests, the commission listens, and may direct staff to do a study. It's not organized. This is just organizing that process is the key item to this manual.
And I think we all recall during Magnolia, there were times as we were about to do something, and all of a sudden we heard from everyone else that came in and said, wait a minute, I wasn't for that. I don't want it in front of my house. It's too noisy, it's too this, it's too that. So for me, what this does is get, I get now, and you're right, I mean, this is gonna be a high demand item. Almost every time I speak to someone now, this comes up. We were at Pine Street meeting talking about a sidewalk, and so, oh, by the way, can you lower the speed limit? And right now, I have no way of saying, okay, here's how that process works, versus just show up, speed speak to the commission, and we kind of take it, one by one, piece by piece. Let's see what we feel like. This gives us at least something to say, this is the framework. If it's merited, great. If it's not, we can override. And if we're overriding too much, then let's look back at the framework and figure out, are we wrong or is the framework wrong? And so that's what I think this does for me, is at least gives us some process to push through. But I want to go back to, we probably do need this comprehensive plan, look at where are the issues? Where are we just going to, rather than citizens having to drive the boat, why can't we go out and comprehensively look and say, here's where we've seen an increase in traffic or incidents or whatever, led by our intelligence, and say, let's proactively look at some of these items, so, or areas.
And Mayor, to that point, I think it'd be probably wise for us to do in a quadrants. For example, if you look at this area on Riverside, take it from Riverside to US 1, and then take it from Canal Street all the way to, down to, I guess would be 9th or 10th Street.
Yeah.
And do this in a quadrant where you're looking at like a stormwater, you're looking at the comprehensive, a master plan for the entire area, so.
Okay. I'm trying to keep us on an impossible schedule here, gentlemen. Commissioner Hartman, you haven't spoken yet.
So I'm in favor of the comprehensive speed study citywide. I think we need that data. It gives some credence to the police department. The other is it's a 75% requirement for the citizens to bring it forward. What's the requirement for it to get approved?
Also 75%.
Also 75%.
So it'd be 75% with the request saying, study this, and
Right.
then when we have that final plan, they need to actually ballot. We would control those ballots and send them out.
Okay,
So it's petition 75%, then ballot 75%.
okay. And then for us to approve that, or for you to say, okay, what's that criteria? Because we're basing this on a weekly, week traffic count, a 1 week traffic count. So I'm not so sure that depending on when you do the traffic counts, or, is it truly a fair representation? I know you said the process was 4 months long. Maybe we should do at a couple different times of the year, during school time. Certainly summer vacations may have an impact into it as opposed to normal business operations, that sort of thing. So just as long as we're keeping those things in mind when we're collecting our data. And specifically to Riverside, I believe we did traffic counts prior to the speed hump implementation, right?
We did.
And we've done them since then also.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd be interested to see if that data also agrees that there is an increase in the speeding or an increase in the traffic numbers, if the raw data actually supports what the neighbors are telling us here tonight.
The anecdotal
So-
data.
I think
And we
there
have
was
that.
one, and I think it did
Yeah.
show a big increase in traffic.
So,
Yeah. All right. Come back to Commissioner Colodi. Gentlemen, we do want to start winding this up if somebody has a motion they want to put before us. But if you have other comments, go ahead.
Yes, I haven't had any comments yet. I
That's
just
right,
have
you asked a question. All right, go for it.
I'm opposed to this as the way it's written. It's a fine way to accumulate data, but there's no standards in it as to when we should do the actual deciding. It says, Mr. Fields said, his item number 5, it's all left up to the commission. It's the same thing we have now. So I just simply don't see the benefit of some system that's going to take 6 months to address what goes on, let alone implement it. I don't think it's really a benefit.
Okay.
The problems are there, there's no doubt about that. But as we heard on the various other items that came up, the stop signs here, the west end of town, the east end of town, the North Beach area where everybody's anxiously awaiting this manual before they start asking, I don't think this is really anything that's going to help us.
So a question to you, not to challenge you, but just a genuine question. So when you're approached by folks in Publix that say, hey, I want to lower the speed limit on my road, what do you tell them? Because I struggle with the response to that. And this to me is the answer to say, hey, here's our process. Follow this process, and then the outcome could be that happens. How do you respond to that in absence of this?
Well, we have to at least have a standard in here, which we don't, as opposed to item number 5, which says, well, here you are, commission, do what you want. If you remember, the standards we had before, virtually no applications met those standards. So it's very hard to develop something like this. The comprehensive way is much better. That would work where we had it on the South Riverside area, but that's not even necessary in a lot of other areas.
Okay.
We just have to find a different way to do it, different way to approach it.
All right, so gentlemen, we have before us today the traffic calming manual. We can do nothing. We can approve a variant, or we can punt this even further down the road for the next workshop. What is the commission's pleasure? Yes, sir.
I do have a suggestion.
Yes.
Is on the 3 or 4 items we looked at last year, we should take these standards that are proposed, compare them to the results of what came in during the last time, and see they were all rank, where they would rank, see what the number would be. And perhaps if we can get what seems like a reasonable number, we can put that in the manual as a target as to where to go before we start extending the process out longer.
Personally, I'd like to see us adopt something. I'm okay if we even lower the percentage. We can always, done is better than perfect in this case. Like, I think we can chase perfection on this forever. I'd like to see us do something, and then we can, maybe the next item is the quadrant look. I agree, I like that as well, but I'd like to see us do something. Or let's agree to just never talk about this again, because it's come up like, this is the 15th time we've talked about it, and we keep punting it. So one of the two.
Last comment.
Yes.
I agree with everything you said, except there is no standard as to what's proposed here, as to what would be acceptable. If we put a standard in it, I'm more than happy to support it and see how it works out. There's no standard that says, you got a ranking of 85, let's go for it.
Well, I thought that is, the 75. In other words, I
It's
don't.
not written in there.
There's,
The threshold of 75% is,
I didn't see it.
Well, there's 2 scores here. There's an actual score based on our study, based on certain points, the speed, the crashes, the criteria, that say it's a 65. What we didn't say is that you have to have at least a 60 to be eligible for a project. That's where we stopped
Right,
short.
right.
The 75% is the resident support for that proposal.
So to me, there's gates that say if it doesn't meet those 75% or whatever that number we decide is, if it doesn't meet that, it doesn't keep going. And then it gets to a score, and then that's where it does kind of get left back in our lap to say, you know, okay, obviously a 60 is better than a 50, but should we approve everything above X? And that's where I think you're saying we're falling a little short. Okay, got it.
Yes. Right now, we're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of
Right.
effort by the citizens and by ourselves, and we really have no goal as to what that does.
Well, I mean, I think
We open it up and
takes
go,
some
"Yep."
subjectivity out. I mean, if something comes in at 100 versus a 0, that gives us something, you know, right? So, all right, Commissioner, what's the pleasure?
I think that we should keep it as a tool in our belt. I think the citizens deserve it. I think we deserve it. Our country is going to a multimodal forms of transport. People want to get outside. They want to enjoy their sidewalks, their streets, access to all the amenities. Our goal was to divert traffic away from South Mainland and back to Dixie Highway. It didn't work. People wanted that shortcut, so then they took Live Oak and then they took Riverside.
We got to
So
stay on the manual. Do you want to support the manual?
I
Do you
would
want to make a
like us
motion on the
to
manual? or-
keep the manual.
Well, we don't have a manual right now. This
Right.
is, do we adopt a manual or not?
I think we should adopt the manual.
Okay. Do you make a motion that we adopt the manual?
I would like to make the motion to it.
We have a motion to adopt the manual as presented by staff. Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Do I have another motion? Do I have a motion to not talk about the traffic calming manual for at least a year, 2 years, 3 years? I don't know.
I would, if I might, Mr.
Go for
Mayor,
it.
I would like staff to look at it, come up with what they feel is a reasonable goal we're shooting for, bring it back to us, and then I will adopt it.
Reasonable goal meaning if the score is above X, then we would,
Yes,
The
because
proposed
we
motion.
always have
okay.
item number 5, which is up to us in the long
So
run.
leave that option, but come back with something that says if the score is above X, staff would recommend approval of some traffic calming measure. All right? I can support that because I support it as is, so I would definitely support that. Do you have a comment?
I don't want to keep tasking staff with our problem. Come up with a number that we're happy with, tell staff to put it in, let's go forward. So what's the number that we want? What percentage of a number that you want that threshold to be that would invoke us to go ahead and make a decision on that? because we can't just keep kicking this back to staff and say, solve our problem. Oh, no, we don't like it. Bring it back. We don't like it. Bring it back.
Mr. Fields, do you have a recommendation?
I would say 50 based on the points. Should be a 50 for the points. This is not the percentage of residents to
Yeah.
support. If you
Yeah.
can't score 50 in this criteria, it's really a project that probably doesn't warrant spending public money on.
So if we just added something that said, if it's below 50, it doesn't really even come, it doesn't get further.
To move it forward, yes, I agree.
I'll second for discussion. Was that a motion?
It is a
And I'm
motion.
gonna say, and I'm gonna make the comment that the reason 75% from the neighbors is important is because otherwise we'll get 50 or 55% that want something and then 50 or 55% that don't. And ultimately, what we end up with is flip-flopping the problem. People say they want something, they get it, then the other people who don't come in and say they don't want it. That is what happened on Magnolia. So there's no easy answer for that. But for there to be a significant, overwhelming problem for us to have to address, I think that that needs to stay at about 75%.
I think it should be 80, but
Well,
to go
I'm
along,
willing,
to
I'm willing
move
to,
on,
All
I'm
right.
good with 7.
So we had a motion, we had a second, that was to approve the I'm gonna clarify your motion, so correct me if I'm go off base here. We had a motion and a second, the motion was to approve the manual as presented, with the addition of staff to insert some language that criteria has to be above 50 points for it to move any further in the process. And we'll let staff draft that language and we can all review it once that's presented.
Yes,
Is that
as
fair?
maker of the motion, yes. that The
Okay,
priority
seconder?
ranking method must have a score of minimum 50% to move forward.
City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner McGurk?
yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes,
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. If no other business for the special meeting, the traffic calming manual has been adopted. We obviously have more issues to talk about with traffic, but we got more meetings to have. So we're going to adjourn that meeting. We have another meeting, which is the CRA meeting. So if you're interested in that, stick around. If not, it's great to see you all tonight. You're leaving in better weather than you came in, so